Thanks very much, Kirsty. Renascor Resources is an Australian critical minerals company developing in Australia one of the world's largest graphite deposits. Our Siviour deposit in South Australia is the second largest reported proven reserve of graphite globally and the largest reserve of graphite outside of Africa. For the better part of the past 5.5 years, Renascor has been developing not just a Siviour resource, but a technology to upgrade Siviour ore that will be mining in South Australia into a refined, purified spherical form for direct use in the manufacture of lithium-ion battery anodes. We think because of our location in Australia and the quality and scale of the resource, we have the potential to become the lowest cost producer of purified spherical graphite outside of China, and therefore we believe we have the potential to become one of, if not the largest producers of purified spherical graphite in the world. A quick corporate overview. Renascor trades under the ticker symbol RNU. We've gotten a bit of greater interest in the past 6 months from the equity markets, and this has fallen on 3 major offtake agreements we announced over this period, 2 with anode companies in China, and a 3rd with the Japanese trading company. We recently completed our first institutional capital raising, and we're now very well funded, and this will allow us to fund our next work programs. The next time we should be going to market looking for cash, hopefully will be when we'll be looking to construct the mine and processing facility. We're looking at a vertically integrated project where we're combining both a traditional mining operation and a downstream operation. So we're looking at an open cut mine and a flotation plant in South Australia, and then a downstream operation where we take the graphite concentrate we'll be producing at the mine site and we upgrade it into a purified spherical form. We will then provide that to anode manufacturers, and we try to illustrate here the supply chain for graphite into EVs. The anode manufacturers then supply battery cell manufacturers who then supply Tesla and other electric vehicle manufacturers. So quite simply, our main product is a purified spherical graphite product, and our customer is an anode manufacturer. Now, we believe in the production of purified spherical graphite. We have a competitive advantage, and that's really down to 2 factors. The first is our location here in Australia. A modern industrial country, the kind of country in which we can do downstream production. The second is the quality of the resource itself. If you're looking at large new resources of graphite that can produce at low cost at scale, you're limited in where you can go. You can go to China, you can go to East Africa, or we have our Siviour project. And the combination of our location and the scale of the resource is going to allow us to be one of the lowest cost producers of purified spherical graphite globally. A few words on the graphite market. Graphite, like most of the battery minerals we've been talking about in this conference, is really being driven by the uptick in electric vehicles. As we need more EVs, we need more lithium-ion batteries. Graphite is the key raw material that goes into lithium-ion battery anodes. Now, if we look a little bit more closely at graphite, you see something that surprises a lot of people, and that's that graphite is not yet a battery mineral. It's becoming a battery mineral. The predominant use of graphite currently is in industrial applications. Less than 25% of graphite currently goes into lithium-ion battery applications. Now, that'll change in a couple of years. It'll be 50-50, but it's only towards the end of the decade that graphite concentrates, the kind we'll be producing at the mine site, becomes a battery mineral. Now, for our operation, graphite concentrates are predominantly a raw material that feeds our downstream to produce purified spherical graphite. Now, purified spherical graphite feeds one market, the market for the production of lithium-ion battery anodes. And here you get 100% exposure to lithium-ion battery growth, and we're looking at projected annual growth rates of up to 30%. At this rate, you would need about 90 new Siviour-sized projects over the next 10 years. So this market is growing in leaps and bounds, and from a demand perspective, you can see why this is a very attractive market for us. Now, the other thing is we think within this market, we can be amongst the lowest cost producers. And part of that starts with our location. We're located in South Australia. The mine site's just outside of the coastal town Arno Bay on the Eyre Peninsula. or about 8 kilometers away from the highway that'll take us to the container carrying port of South Australia at Port Adelaide, and we'll be looking to upgrade the material along the way in a downstream processing plant. And one of the key advantages we see is we're not taking material and moving it over added distances. We're taking the material from the ground, refining it, and we'll be delivering it to customers. Now, the other key advantage we think we have is in the scale and quality of the resource itself. So Siviour is large, it's one massive ore body, but not only is it a large ore body, it has a relatively unique flat-lying orientation. And we try to illustrate this with the image here. So in red, we're showing Siviour in cross-section. And to give you an idea of what graphite deposits generally look like, we've included 3 other graphite deposits in the 2 shades of blue and green. And most graphite deposits are either vertical or they're subvertical and consist of a series of lenses that go at depths. Siviour is quite unique in that it's flat-lying. It almost looks more like a coal seam than a graphite deposit. It's thick intersections of higher-grade graphite near surface. And quite simply, that means we can reduce our mining costs to a very low level. We completed a definitive feasibility study at the end of 2019, and it showed we can pass along that savings from the mining operation into the production of graphite concentrates at the mine site. And we believe we can produce that graphite concentrate at the mine site at amongst the lowest cost of any graphite development globally. Now, probably difficult to see the other countries that are at the lower end of the cost curve here, but they tend to be in places like China and East Africa. Our advantage in being in South Australia is we don't have to take our material to a different jurisdiction to upgrade it. We can do it right here in Australia. We completed a vertically integrated study last year that combines the definitive feasibility study results from the mining operation with a downstream operation, and we believe we can produce a purified spherical product at a gross cost of approximately $2,000 US a ton. That puts us within the medium price point for current producers, all of whom are in China, but perhaps more to the point, we think we can be the lowest cost producer outside of China. And part of that is because the chief component, the single largest component cost in the production of the downstream product is the raw material feedstock itself. Our advantage, if we can undertake the mining risk and execute that, we'll be able to get product at about $350 a ton. If you look at the cost, if we were to buy that material at the market, it would cost us approximately $400 more per ton at current prices. But if you project future prices for graphite going forward, the savings grows to over $1,100 US a ton. So quite simply, this is why we think we can be one of, if not the lowest cost producer of purified spherical graphite outside of China. We completed that integrated study at the midpoint of last year. At the time, we were looking at producing 28,000 tons in a stage 1 operation with a net present value of just under $500 million US. Now, since that time, we've executed 3 offtake agreements, and if anything, we've seen the demand increase for this product. We're now looking at expanding this stage 1 production or even moving to a stage 2 production. So as we move forward through the calendar year, we think there's every expectation that the numbers you see here could improve. ESG is something we've talked about a lot at this conference. For us and our project, it's not really a choice, it's mandated. We're in Australia, we're in South Australia, but the same would hold true over any Australian jurisdiction in that we have some of the strictest environmental and regulatory rules in the world. We've already gone through a 3.5-year period to get our mineral lease. We're in the second phase of that right now. We've adopted a purification process that is eco-friendly. The Chinese all use hydrofluoric acid. We won't be using hydrofluoric acid. This is becoming increasingly important with our customer base. And that's really only a recent vintage that the anode companies have been more concerned with that. We've managed to test this. We've gotten to a 99.99% purity product without using hydrofluoric acid. And really the challenge for us isn't meeting customer spec, it's being able to meet customer spec in an efficient manner. And then finally, we think we're also ticking an important ESG box by optimizing the use of local resources. We'll be mining the material in South Australia, upgrading it, then delivering it directly to the customer. Our offtake strategy is to align with the people who are going to use our product. And in our case, our product is used by lithium-ion battery anode manufacturers. Currently, 100% of lithium-ion battery anodes using natural flake graphite are manufactured in Northeast Asia. And within Northeast Asia, the Chinese dominate the production of anodes. They account for 85% of all anode production and 90% of anode construction. Japan is 10% of the market, and South Korea is 5%. Currently, none of the existing anode manufacturers even have plans to move to other markets, the United States, Europe. It'll happen eventually. Our plan is to align with the existing top manufacturers of anodes, and when they move, we'll move with them. To date, we have 3 offtake agreements that cover over 100% of our stage 1 production. 2 are with Chinese anode companies, and we recently entered into a 3rd offtake agreement with the Japanese trading company, and that gives us access to the largest market for anodes outside of China. We've also been, I think, as many companies at this conference today, fairly fortunate to have a high degree of support from the Australian government, really at all levels. Part of this is because the critical roles a lot of the minerals we've been talking about at this conference play in the production of lithium-ion batteries. The Siviour project is the only graphite deposit that's been selected as an Australian critical minerals project. I also call your attention to in-principle financial support, in particular from the Clean Energy Finance Corporation. If we're able to successfully move through into final investment decision, we have every expectation that the CEFC would be participating in the financing of our project. In summary, what do we have? We think what's an opportunity to be amongst the lowest cost producers of purified spherical graphite. We think we can do that with a 100% Australian-made product. And this is relatively unique for downstream processing. In the mining business, we're always looking for opportunities to get more of a high-value product, but generally we're at a competitive disadvantage when we go downstream. We think we're one of the unique situations where we're actually at a competitive advantage, and that's because of the quality of the resource and where we're located. So moving forward through the rest of the calendar year and moving into next year, we'll be quite busy moving forward on our final regulatory approvals, moving into detailed design. And the key to us is going to be to move forward on offtake, getting additional offtake and converting that into binding. If we're successful, we have really every expectation that we can become one of, if not the largest producers of 100% made purified spherical graphite product from here for the global market for many years to come. Thanks very much for your time. If anyone has any questions, we have a booth, and obviously be happy to discuss it.